And hello, everybody. Welcome to the Trump Tyranny Tracker. Just after 7 p.m., we have big news tonight from the Senate as they vote to really turn down all the Trump tariffs. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, let me begin by saying hello, Olga Lautman. It's day 283 of the Trump Tyranny Tracker today and the Trump administration. We're looking at the five biggest stories in authoritarian grab this last 24 hours. How are you doing, Olga?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a busy day, but looking forward to getting today's show underway because
Always. Every day. It's like a Trump year. A Trump day is like a Trump year.
it is. It is. I can't believe it's only day 283. It feels like it's been like 2083, which is a sign of the time. Let's begin with the breaking news today, which is really just come out of the Senate in the last few hours. And it's really about the Trump tariffs, the big Liberation Day tariffs that he supposedly introduced in April. The Senate has now voted down in just over a majority in most cases. The Senate, these Trump tariffs against the whole 100 original tariffs, and indeed the ones for Canada and Brazil over the last few days. What are you learning?
Yeah, this is very interesting because it is very rare to see Republicans push back against Trump. And over the past few weeks, been seeing it more and more. A few days ago, there was the same bill that was specifically to, you know, uh, oppose Trump's Brazil tariffs. Look, these bills will not go anywhere because you still need it to go through the House first. So we don't have a House. House Speaker Johnson sent everyone on vacation over a month ago, and who knows if they even will reopen the House this year. They're getting a salary for it, but it is pretty, significant in the fact that you have Republicans pushing back against this, and at least in the Senate trying to reassert control of their you know, separate branch of power where they're supposed to keep a check on the executive branch.
So we had Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, Susie Collins, and Lisa Murkowski all voting with Democrats. That's unusual. Of course, they've often wanted to vote with Democrats and often have not done so, but they're doing it now. But the point you're making is very important. These are symbolic votes, really. The House has sort of blocked any of these kinds of of votes to go again to be in the House. They've sort of blocked those ability for those laws to be presented on the Senate on the House floor. So it doesn't look like this will go anywhere. But it is amazing that there is finally, it looks like, a crack inside the Republican Party as they're opposing Trump's tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, the crack has been appearing in several, ways over the past few weeks, whether it is Trump buying, beef from Argentina, as our cattle farmers are screwed, whether it's Trump giving Argentina $40 billion bailout, while our soybean farmers are screwed, whether it's, these extrajudicial killings happening in international waters and a potential regime change in Venezuela. And you see senators pushing back. I think Rand Paul, shockingly enough, has been one of the most fiercest opponents. Interestingly enough, he's also one of the ones who was closest aligned to Russia, way even before Trump came in the picture. So it is interesting to see, that he has been pushing back really on everything Trump is doing.
Now, while the Senate was conducting these really symbolic votes, analysts were assessing Trump's summit with Xi Jinping in Beijing earlier on. And the consensus seems to be clear that China really won this particular round of trade negotiations. Beijing secured immediate tariff rollbacks and suspended rare earth export controls without making any structural concessions on intellectual property, forced technology transfer, or Taiwan. And Trump also received publicity around Chinese soybean purchases and fentanyl cooperation promises, talking points for the Farm Belt ahead of the 2026 elections. So these are significant victories then for Beijing against Trump. So he looks embarrassed yet again on the world stage as these negotiations. They've seemed to have come up with a way of doing this now where Trump looks like he's winning. He gets to claim that he's winning, but actually China is doing the winning.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is doing the winning when it comes to foreign policy, and Trump, while basically delivering to him that, it's his idea or he's the genius, quote unquote, deal maker. But I still, I mean, look, I don't understand. We started January, take for instance China. We are in October going into November, even if he cuts it to 47% tariffs, we
Mm.
are paying, American people are paying 47% more. So I'm not sure where this winning is, where the deal making is, because we are still paying everything that is imported from China more. And this happens with every single country. I mean, 100 plus countries. And then also, don't forget, we literally are starting November in a few days, and the Supreme Court is supposed to take on Trump's tariff to even see if he has, the legal authority to implement these tariffs, which will be very interesting because then if the trillions of dollars that he claims he's collected from these tariffs, which, congratulations to all the American people for paying these trillions of dollars, with higher prices and goods and services, um, what happens then?
How do you pay that? How do you
Because
pay that back if they've been incorrectly charged to all Americans? How do you even figure that out? Where you have to pay back and rebate all these tariffs? Well, it'll be a huge problem if that lands up being the case, and it could be the case.
it could be because everything Trump does, he's doing, through executive orders, disregarding the law, disregarding what the Constitution says. And he really can get us into a very big mess because I can tell you that the market, for all its record high, which is bizarre on its own. And when Main Street catches up to Wall Street, Wall Street's going to have quite an awakening. But with these how you call it,
Tariffs.
with Wall Street and the record highs,
Mm.
Wall Street is worried about this because if the Supreme Court rules that these tariffs by Trump are unconstitutional, you will see the market start going, through a nosedive. So
Absolutely.
it's
The same with
it's a
cryptocurrency, by the way. There's a lot of cryptocurrency money now seeping into the stock market money. So if something happens to cryptocurrency, it's not only bad for Trump, it's bad for Wall Street as well. Then people are very nervous about those two things. Let's move to our second big story, which is really about the Doge unit. You remember the Doge unit? You always call it Elon Musk's Doge unit, although he's not there anymore, of course. But it's now
it's operatives
executing.
are.
Its operatives are, and his legacy is there for sure. But now they're executing a dual takeover of critical military functions. So Doge is now taking direct control of the Pentagon's drone overhaul,
Yep.
bypassing traditional military procurement to acquire 30,000 US made drones in the coming months, following Trump's executive order elevating drone warfare as a defense priority. Let's begin with that story, and then we'll get to the second story that's also happening in the military right now. But that's a significant thing. Drones are the future of warfare. So for Doge to be taking it over, that's a significant deal.
I mean, is Big Balls going to be in charge of this? Is he back even? Uh, um, the fact that you have this unauthorized agency, again, this is an unauthorized agency. There's nothing, in the Constitution that says that Trump could have created this agency. Congress didn't approve the creation of this, agency. And here they went in, not only stole all our information, we didn't even know there was a lot of secrecy surrounding all of Musk's operatives who were there. And they went agency by agency, stealing everyone's information. God knows, uploading it to some iClouds, compromising our information. Who knows where it went? It could have gone to China, it could have gone to Russia. We don't know. And then on top of it, they had access to all sensitive information. And now the fact that they will be, taking over drone operations and procurement in the Pentagon. I mean, the whole thing is so absurd. If someone actually wrote this as a script and tried to sell it to Hollywood, like Hollywood would say, like, buzzed off, this is too ridiculous of
It,
a story.
it's true because I mean, Doge is really so connected to the Silicon Valley group, the oligarchs, and of course they're a big potential provider of these kinds of drones as well. So it does seem like there's a significant conflict of interest there for there to be a Doge operative, which has already been so compromised by big Silicon Valley firms, to now have have those same people in charge of buying drones seems a direct conflict of interest. And we're not sure we're going to get the best technology in that way. We might just get the most lucrative deals done for Elon Musk's friends.
I mean, they can go in and just take our Pentagon secrets and sell to China. I
Hmm.
mean, we don't even know who these Doge operatives are, minus, Big Balls and a few others that were unmasked
Hmm.
by media outlets. But other than that, we don't know who these people are. We don't know what loyalties they have. We don't know where they work. There was a lot of reporting that as they were stealing all our information, I mean, Social Security, employment, bank information on our family members. As they were stealing all of this, a lot of them had other full-time jobs
Hmm.
or were on boards. So we don't know who these people are, where they are, and we don't know what purpose they have. And we already got, I mean, this is not Doge related. I don't think it is, but we already saw with the drone contracts where Don Jr. Was put onto a board of a so-called drone company in Florida that no one even heard of. Um, in November, and suddenly they got a contract from the Pentagon of like last week or 2 weeks ago. So I mean, that just shows you, instead of getting actually real technology in drones for drone warfare, that is actually the one thing Trump is right about, that the future is drones. Of warfare is drones. Instead of getting real technology, I mean, they're busy with corruption. And this reminds me of Russia because this is exactly what happened. And I remember prior to the full scale invasion, when American policymakers that I was dealing with were worried about Russia's, mighty military. I said, what military? There's so much corruption there that everything is parked in villas and yachts and, overseas, offshores. Out of every contract, out of $1 million contract, at least 800,000 gets pocketed between various senior officials, and then the rest will go to the contract. Sure enough,
Unbelievable.
that's exactly what you saw happen. I mean, besides Russia's military is cruel, they target civilians. Their purpose is, to cause as much death and harm and genocide and war crimes against civilians. But as far as the military, there's zero strategy, zero anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that in the way they're fighting in Ukraine. The other big story out of the Pentagon is that Rear Admiral Kurt Reutenhaus, a decorated officer who oversaw billions in funding as the chief of naval research, has been removed and replaced by Rachel Riley, a 33-year-old former Doge employee and McKinsey partner with no naval experience. Riley previously pushed for mass layoffs of 8,000 HHS employees. And according to Senator Mark Kelly, a former naval aviator, called the move highly unorthodox. It does seem like he's really, Hexeth at least, is really rankling with a lot of his senior military brass.
Oh, I mean, the ones that are left, he purged everyone,
Mhm.
and he's still continuing the purge. And every time a situation arises where one of the senior military officials disagree with a policy, they get purged.
Yeah.
But here, I mean, unorthodox is a kind way of putting it by Mark Kelly, because this is absurd. You
Yeah.
have, again, someone going into the Pentagon who has no authorization to do so, no experience to do so, to take over a senior role. I mean, the whole thing, again, the problem is that it's going to be the American people who pay for this because, just like in other authoritarian countries, the regime is isolated, protected. They have the best security, the best defenses. It will be the people who will pay. And if our Pentagon, world-class military, suffers like this and continues with this paranoia, and I mean headset is too busy searching for leaks and
Mm.
polygraphing people instead of worrying about U.S. national security, as really we have you know full-scale invasion in Ukraine. Russia has been escalating. Every week I update. In the past week, more escalations against NATO countries in Europe. Um, at the same time, Trump, Hegseth actually started pulling out U.S. forces from the eastern flank as Russia has been escalating. Then you have China, who may be preparing for Taiwan. So you have chaos around the whole world. I mean,
Mhm.
this is not the time to put, freaking Doge operatives into senior roles.
No, it's no time to be playing around. It's interesting as well. There was an Atlantic story today about how Hegseth and Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem and Marco Rubio have all moved into military bases in Washington, D.C. because they're so scared of no protests, because there aren't really any protests happening. So I guess they're really concerned about uh, this threat which they feel is happening to them. Speaking of paranoia, because none of it is actually happening in reality. But it's remarkable that they're taking up these admirals' homes, these generals' homes, in these very historic apartments and buildings that are designed for generals. They're intended for generals. They're not intended for, Trump's cabinet and for Miller to self-deport himself to a military base. But that's what they were doing.
Yeah, again, more corruption, more insanity. I mean, none of this is normal. No matter how much they throw at us, none of this is normal. We're not supposed to have cabinet officials living, on military bases while they are destroying the agencies that were appointed to run. Shocked that Pam Bondi hasn't joined them
He
since
probably
she's
will.
dismantling everything from the Justice Department. I mean, none of this is normal. This is mass corruption. You have, again, I hope people are beginning to see what exactly, an authoritarian state looks like, because it's becoming more and more clear, not from the actions, but from the, what is it called? Contradictions, I guess. On one end, you have a government shutdown, you have military people standing on food lines at the food banks, to get food and are not getting paid. You have, God knows, I think 600,000 federal employees who have been furloughed, not getting paid. And at the same time, you have Trump, demolishing the East Wing to build himself, a Saddam Hussein ballroom. You have, Kristi Noem, who is living on a military base. She found the money to allocate for planes for herself
Yeah,
and,
two
her
private jets.
seniors.
Can you believe it?
Exactly. So you see this very clear, thing happening. This is exactly what happened after Putin came into power, where you
Mm.
started seeing this very clear line where, the top elite in the Kremlin and everyone surrounding the Kremlin, how they received favoritism and how they were living, how they received state contracts, how they were embedded into various agencies. And then on the other hand, everyone else started becoming more and more poor. So this is the same exact thing happening here.
Let me just try fix my cameras keep going wild on me. So I'm just gonna
You know,
I don't know what's happening to it. So I'm
like
just
a
gonna try.
discotheque
I know, like
tonight.
it's an AI camera. I guess it's just having its own mind today. Or I think it thinks
Yeah.
that's my head above me in this light that I have above me.
The only things you just mentioned AI, out of everything, the only cool thing that I did see in the news um, was a humanoid robot that cleans your house and does
Oh,
all your chores. They
amazing! I've been waiting for that. I've been waiting for that.
eh,
I'll give up everything for that. If they can give me one of
it's
those,
it's
I'll do
it's
whatever they
it's
ask.
already here on pre-order for a cool 20,000, I think.
Oh,
It'll get
20,000.
cheaper.
Oh, I'm sure it
Yeah,
will
it'll
get
get
cheaper over
cheaper,
time.
don't worry.
Another
But
military.
it does everything.
Oh, really?
Every
Cooking, cleaning,
everything.
garbage, everything?
Garbage,
Oh,
laundry, cleaning,
garbage.
picking everything up,
Does it fold your
cleaning
laundry?
bathrooms. It folds your laundry, it puts things on hangers,
Oh my
everything.
gosh.
Waters your garden, feeds your animals.
Olga, you buried the lead today. That's the biggest story in the world right now. Wow,
It
that's a
goes up and down the stairs with
oh,
laundry baskets.
really? Yeah. Wow, I want that. That sounds great. I'm sure everybody's dying to get one of those. It'll be
Yeah.
very popular.
I'm
Um,
sure Nome will have a whole army of them running around her residence in the military base.
It's a bit creepy, I will say, but I'll go with it for a while. Like once a humanoid living with them, but there you go. The other big military story today, of course, is the Trump administration has held Republican-only briefings on U.S. military strikes near Venezuela that killed nearly 60 people, systematically excluding all Democrats from what should be a critical bipartisan national security discussion. This has been raised by Mark Warner, the senator, who says that he's warned that this move politicizes military decision making and undermines congressional oversight of Trump's escalating Caribbean operations. I mean, they seem to believe, I guess, that the Democrats are going to leak this information, or why are they doing this incredibly partisan briefing without including the Democrats?
Because Trump feels that, Democrats is a non-existent party or opposition and the enemies, as he's called it. So that's why you see, even with the shutdown, he specifically instructed Congress not to, Republicans not to negotiate with Democrats. It's the same thing here. But what's interesting is that Republicans finally got a briefing because this strikes have been going on for about a month and a half, where upwards of 60 people that Trump
Wow.
has murdered.
6 to 1.
61.
Yeah.
61 people Trump has murdered. We don't know who these people are, whether they're fishermen, what they are, who they are. A few that they captured, they sent back to their countries. So clearly they're not that much of a security threat if one minute you're trying to blow them up and murder them, and the next minute, like, oh, you survived? Okay, go back to Colombia or Ecuador. So um Republicans have been demanding, and they've been, more and more vocal about getting this information and what exactly we're doing. Because, I mean, if Trump is preparing to take us into a regime change, operation in Venezuela, he needs to give the American people and Congress, the details. How much is it going to cost? How long is this operation? What are the objectives of the operation? Are we just going to remove Maduro and then just, and leave? Are we going to stay there to ensure their security? Because then that turns into another Afghanistan. So, I mean, he needs to provide these details. And it's very fascinating that Republicans have, put several questions to the Pentagon demanding information, never heard back from them. And finally, today they got a briefing. And of course, Trump being partisan, decided that Republicans should have the briefing. Democrats, aren't worthy of a briefing, even though they should have the same briefing because, this is a congressional issue to decide whether Congress should give him these military powers, or whether he'll just continue executing and taking America into wars, without any military powers from Congress.
It's continuing his purge across every department. The same thing is happening in the Justice Department, where they're rewriting history. Two federal
Mm.
prosecutors were replaced on administrative leave after describing the January 6th crowd as a mob of rioters in a sentencing memo for Taylor Taranto, a Trump pardoned insurrectionist who was later arrested near Barack Obama's home with weapons. The DOJ, now under Jeanine Pirro's control, replaced their memo with one that completely omits any references to the insurrection or Trump's role in inciting it. Wow, this is real revisionist history.
It sounds like the Epstein thing, right?
Mhm.
Because we have nothing better for the FBI to do than take 1,000 of them to go and search through all the Epstein files to look for Trump's name and to make sure that that's removed. Now you have him weaponizing the Justice Department for the same exact thing. So now there are two parts to this story. One, the fact that, he pardoned these insurrectionists and rioters, all of them regardless what they did. He pardoned them, and here you have, not even what, 9 months later, one of the insurrectionists who had an assassination plot against Obama. He had weapons, he had a plot to murder President Obama. So you have, this, and he's not the first insurrectionist who's been rearrested, whether it's for child trafficking charges or gun charges or whatever. I mean, I've
Anyone
read
surprised? I
several.
mean, how can you be surprised? These guys were performed an insurrection. Of course, they're going to commit other crimes later on. It's really
And
disappointing that,
prior to that,
yeah,
and prior to
and
that,
prior to
because
that.
when Trump pardoned all these insurrectionists, I mean, there was a lot of confusion because it seems like he offered a blanket pardon for all their other ongoing federal cases, which really caused, a
It does seem like
chaotic
that's what
thing.
he's done. I mean, their approach to these prosecutors, who this is a serious crime. This guy was indicted for, and they're just basically giving him a way out, a complete pardon. That's unbelievable, ignoring the very history of his criminal activity. The final story on today's Trump Tyranny Tracker is all about the ICE facial tracking system. So, we've videos circulating on social media reveal that ICE and Border Patrol agents have been deploying facial recognition technology on people in public spaces, like everybody. They're basically tracking people's faces, including minors, to verify citizenship. In one clip filmed in Chicago, an agent points a phone at a teenager's face after the teen says he has no ID, then asks him to confirm his name, demonstrating the use of mobile facial recognition tools known as Mobile Fortify. This represents the deployment of surveillance technology, as we've been discussing for many months here. This is coming for all Americans, and here it is. It's here.
It is here. I mean, imagine we used to have due process, and now they're running around with an app that, scans someone's face on the street, and then they could basically grab people off. And of course, these facial recognition programs aren't 100% accurate. So, of course, you're going to have US citizens, wrong identities, all rolled up into this. But I mean, this is
And
part of the
minors, it seems
surveillance.
ridiculous. Minors, what are you
Minors.
doing tracking people's? This is really the last vestige of privacy disappearing for all Americans. You can't move around. They're going to know where you're going. They're going to be able to recognize who you are, no matter what it is you're doing. It's a real tragedy for the American Constitution and the American people. That is the Trump Tyranny Tracker for today, Olga. Great show and really interesting stuff on the Trump Tyranny Tracker. Everyone should subscribe to trumptyrannytracker.substack.com and to your other one, which is called Unmasking Russia. What's up and coming up in the next couple of days for you?
Unmasking Russia. I have a new series I'm launching next week on Russia and the role they played within the global far right, everything across Europe to United States, the political parties, the tactics, the players involved. So I will be doing a whole series on this, and I begin next Thursday. New articles will drop every Thursday, and next Thursday I begin with giving the background of the far right and Nazism
Mm.
inside of Russia, and how it came to be that Russia took advantage of white
That's fascinating.
supremacists and nationalists and skinheads and everything, from the 90s, how they took advantage to then um, go global.
Maybe we should do a special on that next Thursday when your article drops and really focus in on that. I think it'll be really fascinating for everybody to look into that. At narrative.org, I've been tracking the cryptocurrency boom that the Trump family has gotten almost $1 billion in the first half of this year just of cryptocurrency. It's insane how much they're building up. Plus, we're continuing our conversation around what it will take for people to take to the streets, sustained protests, or what will it take for the middle of the country, the center of the country, to also rise up against this dictatorship that we're having here in the United States. So those stories and other stories like that are available at narrative.org, narrativ.org. Thank you very much for being here on the Trump Tyranny Tracker today.
Thank you.
Olga, congratulations, because I think you've done an extra day without smoking. I hope so.
I actually have been smoke free almost for 48
Oh,
hours because
wow.
on this medicine, I was supposed to start the medicine with smoking, and then slowly the medicine cut the smoking. And now I tried, let me try not to smoke, and it's almost 48 hours that I have not had. Well, no, actually. Yeah, 48 hours I have not had cigarettes. And
That's
actually
amazing.
Doing okay. I mean, a little bit cuckoo. Can't focus, but we'll get there.
Well, you look great,
Thank
and I'm
you.
so glad you're doing it. Congratulations on day 2 of no smoking, and we will be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock with a 5 stack with Dean Blundell on narrative, and then we shall see you again next Tuesday for the Trump Tyranny track. Have a great night, Olga.
Yes. Bye. You too.